some NFL headlines, and let's start with Tua Tagovailoa, who's been ruled out of this weekend's matchup for Miami against Buffalo. Skylar Thompson scheduled to be the starter for the Miami Dolphins on the road. And I was going through Armando Salguero from Outkick, his posts on social, and the injury list for the Miami Dolphins is lengthy. Just a handful of those who are not participating in practice this week for the Dolphins. Teron Armstead, Bradley Chubb, Melvin Ingram, Kendall Lamb, Raheem Mostert, Tua, and Teddy Bridgewater was limited in practice with the knee and then the right finger issue that he has. Others on the injury report: Jalen Phillips, Jalen Waddle, Cedric Wilson, Jeff Wilson, Greg Little, and Skylar Thompson has an ankle issue, but he's a full participant in practice. This is not the way. They're limping in literally to the playoffs, and they're the biggest underdog of the weekend, 13.5 currently, and that really took a huge jump up on the Buffalo side of things in Vegas whenever Tua had not cleared concussion protocol.
It would be one of the most improbable playoff upsets of all time if this Dolphins team,
well, based on expectation too,
won.
For Buffalo too.
I mean, that may be the biggest. I mean, we'd have to go back and look at point spreads to see mathematically what the biggest upset would be, but this would be right up there. Given expectation for Buffalo, given the injury situation and playing with a backup quarterback for Miami, it's a bad game.
Yeah.
It's just a bad – let's not talk about that game again.
Well, I mean, let's
move on to
it's
other
relevant,
ones.
Though, with the injury report. And also
it's relevant in that Buffalo's going to kill them now. I think they would have won anyway. But this is just not going to be competitive. That Dolphins team that I watched a lot of that game on Sunday with Skylar Thompson, they kick a field goal to go up 9-6, and they win it. They win it 11-6. And I was talking to Tyler, one of our producers, who bet on them covering, and a lot of people won there because that gave them the cover on that last play of the game, safety that Miami got to make it 11-6. It's a team not worth discussing. Now, what is worth discussing is after this season ends on Sunday for Miami is how do we look back on Mike McDaniel's first season? Hutton, you brought this up. The way they went all in around him,
yes,
and then what happened, I give the guy a pass. I think getting the playoffs this year with Tua in and out and the concussions and everything else, in no way did he do a bad job. I mean, we can sit and nitpick of, well, we made all these investments.
I think he impressed
we should be better than this seeding, as a 7 seed, and we should be better in winning playoff games. Well, that's great, but you don't have a complete roster or anything close to it, and you're playing with a backup quarterback. So that has to be factored in when you evaluate the job that he's done. I think he's done a good job in year one.
Agreed.
Given the circumstances.
Agreed. They need a better run game, run support. But that's the next layer they have to add to this team moving forward.
But you're right in that, the ownerships can look at it as, look at all the money we spent, and then look at the return on investment. The comeback is, yes, let's go back with a healthy roster next year and see what happens.
Rookie 7th-round pick.
Let's see what happens. What you saw early in the year when we've got guys healthy and what we could be. Remember that win over the Dolphins over the Bills early in the year in the heat in South Florida? Let's think about that team before the injuries started happening and see if you can have a little bit better luck with injuries the next year and go into that season and see what you can do.
Well, think about, so we were discussing last week, by the way, Damar Hamlin released from the Buffalo hospital where he was being monitored. He's home. He's headed home, which is great news. 9 days after what happened on Monday Night Football in week 17, or week 17, excuse me. But both of those teams, we're talking about Buffalo and Cincinnati. We were discussing how do you break the tie and how do you determine home field advantage, who gets the number 1 seed. Turns out it's Kansas City, and we know if it's one of those teams involved, it's going to be the AFC Championship at a neutral site. But both teams basically have, based on injury reports for who they're playing, have the best possible scenario considering that they didn't get the bye. Buffalo has Miami, and Cincinnati has, as of right now, the Baltimore Ravens without Lamar Jackson. Again, not ruled out, but not also confirmed to play as of today. Initially, the report was he was going to miss about 3 weeks with this knee issue. It's been 6. And doubling the recovery time in a year where he is trying to win over the idea that he deserves the guaranteed contract, just like we've seen with Deshaun Watson. To me, the only way Lamar Jackson ends up getting that is taking the Baltimore Ravens on a Super Bowl run. That's what it comes down to now based on the time missed and where Baltimore is in the pecking order of the AFC. If he's not playing, huge for Cincinnati. And the fact that we haven't seen him in a while, I mean, there will be some rust with this offense, but it will improve because the offense has not been good with Huntley.
And it's looking like he's not going to play. I mean, what percentage is that he plays in this game?
I mean, 20? I don't know.
It feels like miraculous right now if he plays, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's been double the amount of recovery time. So I wonder if there's been a setback, if there's been something else. Some players don't feel good on the knee versus, it's I don't know, but it's a weird dynamic considering what's at stake, and he's likely getting tagged instead of getting the contract extension.
I love Cincinnati. I love their chances of making a run and not just getting to the Super Bowl this year like they did last year, but winning it. And I'll say all those things and say that if Lamar Jackson plays in this game, this is maybe the best and most interesting game of the weekend. And they could lose in round 1 at home.
Well, and their defense, Baltimore's defense,
but it's going to take Lamar Jackson playing.
Yeah, and Baltimore's defense is really good.
Yeah, I just don't think it matters with Huntley at quarterback, though.
No, it hasn't.
I mean, their defense can be great, and Joe Burrow's not going to make the huge mistakes that's going to give them a chance to score on defense, that's what it would take with Huntley at quarterback to pull the upset. But if Lamar Jackson plays in this game, absolutely Baltimore could go to Cincinnati and win.
The Ravens, though, surprisingly, you look at their schedule, they won 4 of their final 6 games, which is crazy, considering that Jackson wasn't a part of, 5 of them? The schedule helps them. They were playing Pittsburgh. It was all low scoring. Pittsburgh, Atlanta, and they lost to Cincinnati and Pittsburgh down the final stretch of the season, the final 2 weeks of the season.